Hype done right. Hype done right. Listen, it's Wednesday, and you can't ignore the fact that I'm wearing this glorious t-shirt. I'm going to double down on hype done right. I'm going to double down on what God does for us. I'm going to double down on what we're to do with hype. We're going to double down on the Jabez prayer and talk about how this affects your life, how you're to interpret hype, and how you're to do these things in your life wired differently. Am I calling to you right after this? It's that time. It's Wednesday. It is a glorious week. I can't tell you how good I feel in this T-shirt. It is a next level T-shirt. It is our shirt. It is my actual tattoo. Can you guys see that? Let me get this camera around. Okay, here we go. 2 Timothy 4:7. It's on the cover of my book, Your Will Be Done. And we have brandished this T-shirt on wiredtodifferently.com. So if you want to support the mindset, the mission, the movement, and the ministry Wired Differently, and I know that you do because a lot of you watch this show every morning, and I want to talk to you about the consistency of the show and the idea why we do these things. But this shirt, I mean, I put it on yesterday. It came in the mail, and I put it on, and I'm like, oh man, because sometimes when you order things, you order them, and I would be honest with you, I am the worst. I don't like to generally go shopping, so when I go shopping, I like buy everything in the store. Like if I like the way it fits, I'll buy the red one, the green one, the blue one, and so I'll have like 6 of them. And then sometimes you go home and then you put them on, and they don't fit the way they fit in the store, and you feel like you got gotcha. Sometimes you're in the store and you literally look in the mirror, and it's a trick mirror. I mean, everyone's seen those trick mirrors. Like you go into I'm not going to call out a store because I think it's wrong that they do that, but they're called skinny mirrors. Anybody ever heard of a skinny mirror? A skinny mirror is like you go in there and you put your stuff on, and you're like, man, I look good. I look so good. Oh wow. Okay, so I want the one with the collar, one without the collar. It's the same fit, right? Yeah, well, they fit the same. It's going to shrink up. No, it's not going to shrink up. It's like, you do whatever they say. The skinny mirror says one thing. They say is you get home and it does. It fits like crap. You're like, so I want you to know that these T-shirts, I'm vouching for the T-shirts. We went through different types because in the store that we've created on wiredifferently.com, you can get different vendors, and we went with Next Level. So Next Level is a tri-blend, and this fits great. You will love the fit of this shirt, and this is just one of those. So tomorrow I'll be wearing a different T-shirt. And if you go to wiredifferently.com, you can see all the choices there. So that's just kind of the commercial. But the hype, I mean, so like here, you get it, right? I'm hyping the shirt because I love the shirt and I feel good about it. And this morning, I want to talk to you about hype. I want to talk to you about what the Jabez prayer is bringing to me because I'm hyping myself a little bit here. I can't help but not hype myself when I'm doing a show. I mean, just the mere presence of me doing a show is drawing attention to me. And so how do we deal with that in life? How do we deal with people like saying, oh, why does he show that? You know, I did a video the other day I don't know. Sometimes I get I've toggled because I watch a lot of influencers out there, and some of them are literally bragging, and I don't ever want to be a braggadocious hyper. I just want to understand that hype is hype, man. Advertising is advertising. Marketing is marketing. So to me, hype, advertising, marketing, all the same thing, right? But bragging and boasting is another thing. And so I posted a video of I got home so excited to get home from the NRB. I've been gone a week, and then I had to leave the very next day. And so I got in my house, and I took a video of how beautiful the ocean was and how beautiful it was to actually come home and walk through my master suite's hallway, and I posted it. I put some music to it, said, glad to be home. Several thousand views. It was pretty good. And I didn't get any blowback. Some people said beautiful, but I did get some of the grumbling, like on the personal level in my inner circle. Why does he got to post his house? Well, and to be honest with you, I was a little squeamish when I did it, because I know Tracy. Tracy hates that. I mean, I get it. Her intuition is good. And I'm not going to tell you that the post was right. Borderlines on being braggadocious or serving or blessings of what God has brought us through. And does God always, does that get me closer to God because I have maybe nicer things than some people? No, it does not. It does not. And that's what makes me grumble about the message. But I think that, as I was studying Charles Spurgeon's story in the talking of the Jabez prayer on how Jabez praised for his borders to be expanded. I mean, there's a version of hype that's involved in all of this, right? And Charles Spurgeon was just talking about the mere fact that those of us that are influencers generally fall on the side of those that have been prosperous. And so you walk this line of hyping that maybe the success of what you've done puts you in a space of influencer so that others would want to aspire and learn your secrets or your shortcuts to becoming of that ability. And so when you start thinking of a hype and you start thinking about marketing, you start thinking about those types of things, you're walking this line. So you'll never see me doing a lot of that stuff. But I think it's also interesting too that you watch a guy like Ed Malott and Grant Cardone and all these guys that get celebrated from coast to coast for talking about themselves and showing all the things. I mean, Ed Malott shows every other video is out on the balcony of his house shooting his dogs, and he just happens to get the ocean and the putting green or whatever he has all over his. I mean, it's his way, and he's hyping. I don't think he's doing anything wrong, but it's his way of showing the world through the lenses of his video of what he's accomplished, and he should be proud of what he's accomplished. I mean, he's done it. I believe he's done it. I mean, I believe he's done it with God. I'd like to hear him say more about God. But I'm not picking, I'm just saying that. So I did throw that out there, and I have buried some, scenes of the ocean or my yacht or some of the things, because I'll film my children, and they're the kind of like the sacrificial lambs that do get the gorgeous landscape behind them. And I know that people see that stuff. And so like I'm pulling the covers off the bed, and you're seeing I'm fully exposed. I'm telling you the truth. Hype is hype, and this is how it works. And I don't want to be a hype about me as much as I want to be a hype about what God has done for me. And I don't know how else to do that unless I actually say it and I confess to you that, yeah, man, I guess it was a weak moment that I showed that video. But I don't think it was meant to do anything but encourage people to know that, man, the hard work, the reps that I've been doing and my wife have been doing for, 40 years have led to something that could and should be celebrated. I mean, you don't want to follow a leader that's been doing something for 40 years and is, on the streets. So there's got to be something in this God story that's delivering. And I think one of the things that we have to talk about in that regard is, how do we pray for that? How do we make hype, right? I got a quote I put out there: hype pushes fear to fuel. And so I think that's the transition I want to make. I want to make this transition to you this morning. I want to make this hype transition to you, and how to make hype work for you in your mindset, mission, ministry, and movement. I mean, the whole Wired Differently first functional coach in America, the piece that the moniker that I'm so proud of is that I want to teach and treat your whole body. And part of that body that I'm trying to understand and help you with is, it's train you on riches, to train you on wealth, and train you on your spiritual growth, your personal growth, and then your profitable growth will follow. And I know a lot of you are following. So after the break here, I'm going to play a video of Kid Rock and Joe Rogan. I wanted to do it yesterday, and I'm kind of weave that into what's going on here, because I think that hype is amazing. And but hype, like the Kardashians, they've done an amazing job. But can you imagine if the Kardashians injected Christ into their hype, right? Right. So I've got the four pieces of hype done right that I'm going to spin out to you in the second half of this show. And I'm going to start the second half of the show with the Kid Rock, Joe Rogan Experience interview, because I really admire Kid Rock in many ways. I love his music. I love the fact that he's from Michigan. Just love a lot about him. But I was literally shocked how he took his hype and infused it with the fuel of Christ. Just literally. My good friend Sam, a partner in Pacers, and he goes, jet fuel. He put jet fuel into the hype of Kid Rock. So Kid Rock himself is a hype piece. Like, you hear Kid Rock, you hear his music, you see him shooting a machine gun at Bud Light cans, and you see the things that he is hyping himself. But here of late, he's been a really good example of how hype can work for Jesus Christ. And so when I put that video of myself, you can go to Todd Saylor Wired Differently. You can see the video. It's put to the music, AWOL Nation, Sail. It's beautiful. It's a fun song. It's a 60-second video, and it shows me walking down the hallway of my home suite, and then it sees the sunshine, the pool, the ocean. This is absolutely beautiful, right? I'm hyping it. Go see it, right? No, there's hype. There he goes again, right? Well, I know you're going to go look at it because it's beautiful, but it's really a message, really, of this Charles Spurgeon message of really the Jabez prayers. Is, before we look at this, we want to understand, how can we be influencers of Christ? And Jabez just did not want to be of pain, of sorrow, what his name stood for. His mother named him Jabez, which is of pain and sorrow. And he wanted to be the antithesis of that. And so as he's trying to figure out what he's going to do in life, he literally lays down this prayer of Jabez. He lays down this prayer of Jabez. Jabez called upon the God of Israel, saying, and this is literally 1 Chronicle 4:10. And he says, Jabez called upon God and Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border. Right? Love that. And that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from harm, so that it might not bring me pain. And God granted what he asked. Now, the cool thing about this entire Jabez prayer and the hype of Jabez prayer is that you need to understand. Part 2 of this show, I'm going to be breaking it down after the Joe Rogan video, is that it's not prosperity, but provisions. It's not prosperity that Jabez is praying for, but provisions of prosperity. So I'm going to break down the hype. I'm going to break down how hype works for you. I'm going to break down this quote that I have. Hype pushes fear to fuel, man. So we're going to love this second half. Come on, right back.
Preview. Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity. He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years. I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
All right. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to kick off this second half because I've got this message for you that I think is super important. This is this idea that we can't escape hype. Like, any of us that are in the social media world, influencer world, and you know what? Let's just forget about this for a second. Who of you, raise your hand right now, man, if you're not in the influence world? I dare you. Raise your hand right now. I see who's commenting out there. We got a lot of followers this morning. You better not be raising your hands because you are influencers. Right? You know, you're influencers, you're influencing people every day, right? And so this whole hype thing of Todd being an ego guy or an arrogant guy, or people are pushing things, doing things that they're doing and trying to motivate themselves on Facebook. Remember yesterday we talked about back when I was a little kid, the worst thing I could ever been called was vain. Oh, Todd's so vain. Why is he out there dancing? Why is he out there drawing attention to himself? You know, it was just that. And so I was called vain. And my dad said, you know, you can't be vain. You know, I'm like, Dad, I'm not. I'm just performing. I'm just being funny. I'm just doing this. Well, no, you can't draw attention to yourself. And I don't know that. I don't think he was right. I think there's a way to draw attention to yourself that's proper. And I think that is, which I want you to understand, the word hype. So when I say hype, marketing, advertising, you have to do it. And we have to do it for our maker. I mean, at the end of the day, the attention we have for ourselves must be deflected to God. And I think that's where the Elon, and that's where the Gates, and that's where the Joe Rogan, the Rogue, we're going to call him the Rogue. I'm going to change it to the Rogue. That's where the Mar, that's where all these successful people in the world, where they have their own hype, they have their own machines, they have all this stuff going on, and they've done all those things right. But then at the quintessential moment that makes the most amount of time is that they don't deflect it to God. They don't deflect it to others, right? They don't deflect it to, I am all that I am in this world, first and foremost for Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. But secondly, because my wife has given me grace, because my wife has given me mercy. And so many other people. I mean, the hype is so important to be deflected. And when Jabez does the prayer, he asks to be blessed. He asks for territory to be enlarged. He asked to be free of pain. He didn't ask for money. And he gives credit to God. And remember, in 1 Chronicles 4:10, this is the Old Testament. This is thousands of years ago. This is before Christ. They're just talking about Christ coming at some day at this point. And Jabez is working off what's called the Ruach, the Holy Spirit. God as a Holy Spirit. All right, so I'm really excited to actually share this video with you because Joe Rogan, and I want this, I'm doing this as an example of an individual called Kid Rock. And I'm so proud of him because he has hyped himself his whole life, right? And now he's a presence. He's a force. He's something somebody listens to. Matter of fact, he single-handedly pretty much brought down Bud Light when he took a machine gun to all the Bud Light cans in his backyard and just blew them all the heck and said, man, I'm not drinking this stuff anymore. They're supporting transgenders in an improper way. I'm not doing it. Joe Rogan is arguably the most famous podcaster, right? He has a sexy barber also. And I do like Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan pulls the covers off of himself, which I think makes him cool in some regards because he's vulnerable, but yet he's not vulnerable enough to really double down on Christ or give Christians the proper space. And you're going to find the hype master of Kid Rock reverse the hype and deflect the credit of his life to something other than himself. Let's pay attention here. I just want you to see this. It's beautiful.
You think there's a real Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Absolutely. 1000%.
What makes you convinced?
My faith.
I mean, that's a good answer. I always wonder when people are telling stories, though, like how long did that story take before people wrote it down? How many times did people alter it? Just like they do with everything today. I got to imagine that at a certain point in time in history, they probably didn't tell the truth about a lot of things. And we take those things, tell them through oral traditions, have them written down.
Well, there's a difference between lies and between the truth getting, manipulated and twisted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The underlying usually is still there.
So you think the real truth was that he actually was the Son of God?
Yes.
It'd be amazing if it was true.
It is amazing.
I believe you. I believe that you believe that.
Would you like to be introduced to Jesus?
Listen, I think the concept of Jesus is absolutely amazing. And if Jesus came here and wanted to visit me, I would be psyched.
Would you like to know Jesus?
What way?
I can put my pastor on your show.
I'm good.
She's great. Pastor Paula White.
She's
Trump's spiritual advisor, too.
That's
you should have her on the show. Talk about Jesus.
I'm very interested in the idea of Jesus being a real person, but I look at it the same way I look at everything else. Whereas, like,
so let's circle
what
back.
the words
let's
are.
Circle back. You told me that you believed in Bigfoot.
No, I was joking around. I was joking
okay.
around. I was joking around. But I wanted Bigfoot to be real for sure, just like I want Jesus to be real.
He is.
Well, the thing, Bigfoot used to be real. The thing that I found out when I really got fascinated by Bigfoot.
You know how you know Jesus is real right in this moment?
How?
Because the forgiveness that I am exercising by drinking this Bud Light right now.
Oh, that's Jesus?
That's Jesus. Jesus is everywhere. He's in this room. He's in the world. He's in the universe. By the aliens that you want so desperately to be real or have the concept of them being real, that's Jesus. That is Jesus. As a Christian, I have to believe in forgiveness.
Beautiful. Cheers. Well said.
I hope you had you had the ability to watch that whole video, because I think I've watched that video, I don't know, 3 times. And so there's just a lot going on in that video. When I say from a witnessing perspective or a spiritual perspective, in the way I'm tying this into hype is for you to understand that, I'm no Kid Rock. I'm just Todd Saylor. Yeah, I picking on a little video that I did the other day of my home and how nice it was. And this idea of building a following, if you will, or building some credibility, if you will, building a recognition for myself, like Kid Rock. Kid Rock obviously is an American icon. And as he ages over time and he ferments, he becomes even more of whatever his authenticity is. The beginning of his hype was just his music, his bad boy persona, his playboy persona, his wild rock star status. And now as he's fermented over time, God has literally blessed him, right, with this provisions, not prosperity. First and foremost, he came to us with prosperity. He had wealth, he had things, he had success, which people were drawn to him. But here's the transition. Here's the beautiful thing of hype. Now that if we're able to do that, and here's why I want to double down on hype pushes fear to fuel, is that when Kid Rock becomes who he is now, his authenticity shows up in his persona and in his personality, and now his natural hype now is leaning where? To others. Now, you say, not Jesus. I'm saying, yes, Jesus is the first and foremost part of others. But he's actually lifting Joe Rogan up. He's lifting up Bud Light now. He's lifting up. I mean, think about all the things that his persona, that this prosperity, right? The provisions now that God has given him through prosperity. That I don't even know that God brought him the prosperity that he experienced early on in life. But I am certain that right now, what Kid Rock is doing with the hype that he has, he didn't talk once about his latest song. He didn't talk once about his latest event or his house or whatever. He is hyping, right, what he feels has brought him prosperity through the provisions. And the prayer of Jabez is about this. It is about this. Now, I want to talk to you about just a little bit about hype. And I want to just give you the 4 letters of hype. And I want you to understand what Kid Rock was doing in this video. Kid Rock, honestly, I mean, I'm floored. Even as I'm watching it with you, I'm moved. Because Kid Rock did something that all of us, I think all of us are fearful of doing, including me. And he didn't quite close the door, but he went right at Joe Rogan and said, would you like to meet Jesus? On the World Wide Web, on the Joe Rogan show, right? He literally went after it. He saw an opening, the hype was there, and instead of hyping something else, he saw an opening. He saw a gap, and he said, would you like to meet Jesus? All hype must lead back to our Father. All hype must lead back to our Father, right? I would have just loved to see Joe Rogan say, here's how you do it if you want to do it, instead of bringing in Trump's coach or his coach. I mean, trust me, I'm not being picking on Kid. I mean, most people wouldn't even go there. It wouldn't even go close. They wouldn't even begin to even bring it up. And Joe Rogan, the great interviewer that he is, rolled with it, man. But I loved how when he put Joe Rogan in the space, Joe Rogan really had to pause and think about, how am I going to answer this? And here's the problem with the world is Joe Rogan wasn't pausing and waiting to see what God would have him say. I believe he was pausing and waiting to see what he thinks his viewers want to hear. And then he politely says, well, I believe he is true. I believe that you believe he is true. And let me tell you something out there. Jesus Christ is not a mythical feature. To put him in the same category as Bigfoot is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. You know, if you don't want to believe in Napoleon Bonaparte, you don't want to believe in George Washington, you don't want to believe in anybody you don't have videos of, you got to go way back to King Herod. You got to go way back to Nero. You're going to just say none of these Egyptian King, the Newton Tut and all those things and all the Egyptian and all those things. And you got to just erase all of them because Jesus walked on the planet as a human being. It's not disputed that Jesus was a human being ever in any creation whatsoever. Matter of fact, every religion that I know of says Jesus was emphatically a human being walking on this planet. That's not a thought, a fact, or an idea, or a character in a play or a cartoon that Jesus was or was not a human being walking. He was a human being walking on this planet. Now, I'm getting a little fired up here because that is just the very thing that just bothers me about this woke culture or this culture of people that are just be afraid. And I'm not calling Joe Rogan woke. I'm just calling the world to say, well, is he even real? Of course he's real. Here's the thing you should be wondering if you're a Jesus follower or not a Jesus follower, or you want to, do you truly believe the cut mark, the only thing that really matters here is, do you specifically believe that after he does walk on this planet, there's not even any dispute to whether he was killed on the cross? The only piece that we need to talk about today, the ending the hype of this story, the hype of the Rogan, the hype of the Kid Rock, is this very question. Do you not believe just that he was a human being, but do you believe that after he was crucified, no question that he was a human being that was crucified? But here is the cut part. Kid Rock believes this. Did he rise again from the dead? I mean, that's really what this is all about. Hype. I want you to be honest about yourself in hype. H is for honesty. I want you to understand hype. You got to be honest with yourself, right? Are you looking for God for faith? Are you looking for God to trust? Are you trusting in God for your hype and you, your business, your mindset, your mission, and your ministry? Is that you? Honest hype, honest about you, honest about God, honest. H is for honest. You. We're going to go just a little long here. You. Are you being honest about you? Are you doing this for you? Yeah, I've had to admit, I would love to be famous. I am doing this for God first and foremost, but at times I get in front of my message about God. I get in front of the hype. I do want all roads to lead back to Christ, and I'm conscious about that. But there are times the hype takes charge. Please forgive me for that. Maybe that video was one of those. I want you to be honest. I want you to be honest about you. I want you to understand 3, HYP, hype, people, other people. You need to hype other people. You need to hype. You need to hype my sponsors, Mobile Social Media 365. Chad Michael, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You're a sponsor. You give time. You give cred. I love you so much as a brother, as a business partner, and you have made me successful. And I know you love the Lord Jesus. Lawrenceberry Garage, I want to give you credit. Stephen Carroll, you're going to be on the show tomorrow. You're going to rock it. You're going to kick it. I'm more proud of you than you could ever imagine, young man. You have done things. You have listened. You've given God honor, and you are blessing this community. I want to thank Steve Hagan, another guy out of Fort Wayne, India, trucks it. He is a good, godly man, and he's building a business that you could. I am so proud of what he has done and how he's influenced the world in his hype, not only for his business, but for his trucks it business. And Chad, hype for not only his business, but for Christ. And Stephen Carroll only is hype not only for his business, but for Jesus Christ. And when I talk about Tom's Donuts, and we know what that crazy dude is doing. And I want to talk to you about Angela Erdl, EME Cleaning. She is A&M Cleaning. She is doing an amazing job, and she's sporting Wire Differently t-shirts all the time and sweatshirts, and she's kicking some ass and taking names. I said it because she's doing it, and she is one of those people. So I just want you to know, man, here is the deal. There is no question about hype. Hype is in the Jabez prayer momentum, but we're going to talk about a little bit tomorrow with Stefan over at Lawnsberry Garage. He's going to be on the show, and we debated him yesterday. Hype isn't all of what we do, but I want to make sure that we're honest about you and we're hyping other people, including Jesus Christ, our Father, Lord and Savior. And last but not least, E. I need you to execute your hype. Because hype pushes our fear to fuel. When you go out there and say you're going to make a movie, when you go out there and say you're going to write a book, when you have an event like Double H that we're going to be doing, you have an event like in Hudson, Michigan, I'm going to be talking about my book, The Mindset, the Mission, the Ministry, and the Movement of Wire Differently. When you have events and you put it out there, you throw it out there into this world and you say you're going to do something, that's hype. And if you have God behind it, that's godly hype. And that puts a position in your subconscious to go out and do that thing. You're not going to let the community down. You're not going to let yourself down. You're not going to make yourself look like a liar. You're going to put yourself in a position by hyping yourself to fuel your own fire through hype. I just want to make sure when you're hyping, you're doing it through honesty, through you, and hyping other people as well. And then you execute a plan in that mindset. All right, everybody. Get to wiredifferently.com. Support the mindset, mission, movement, and ministry of Wire Differently. I got shirts like this for you. Let's go, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning with Steph and Kate.